Okay, guys, so one of the biggest things happening in Chicago right now is voting for the Bring Chicago Home Bill. So what is this? Why is this causing so much chaos, especially in the real estate department? Well, it's basically a transfer tax. They're going to be taxing every single buy and sell of real estate over $1 million. And we're not talking about a few penny sort of tax. This is actually a very, very strong tax that will deter many potential buyers from ever touching Chicago real estate, because this is for the sellers who want to sell. Now they have a harder time to sell because many buyers do not want to pay this. It is super expensive. Look at what happened to LA. They did a mansion tax for mansions. It was about, 3 to 7% depending on what price range. And mansions, not a single one sold in weeks. This is really, really detrimental for the real estate market. Now, if Chicago real estate was hot, and everyone was fighting each other to get one of these buildings or condos, then yeah, I mean, a transfer tax makes sense because you want to cool the market and make some money at the same time. But when your market is cold, not really sure why they're doing it. So many people thought that the Bring Home Chicago was about the homeless, but people are saying that it's for revenge. It's to fight back. So amending the real estate transfer tax is a step in making those who profited from a displacement, destruction of public housing, '08 foreclosure crisis, gentrification, and rising rents. Well, guess what? This is going to cause rents to rise up even more. This is also going to cause many developers to pretty much stop talking to Chicago and stop building in Chicago. Guys, go on Zillow right now and type in Chicago. You will see that there's barely any construction. Chicago right now is infamous right now for how many cranes they have in the sky, meaning they barely have any. Let's look at the build year, 2021 to now. Basically, no new construction in downtown. The only construction that Chicago has are very, very small single-family homes or small townhomes. The big skyscrapers that you see pretty much no longer exist. There's really only a few buildings. This building here are new, and maybe this building right here. But if you go to places like Toronto, New York City, if you go to Miami, there is literally 20 to 30 brand new development skyscrapers on the market. But Chicago, they only really have about 2 or 3 that recently was built in the past couple years. This basically means that most of the big real estate companies have bailed out of Chicago. And why is that? Well, guess what? These condos that they're selling for over $1 million, it will never sell. And by the way, Chicago home sales dropped a lot last year. The amount of homes dropped 20%, right? This is not great at all. This basically means that nobody wants to buy Chicago real estate either. Not to mention, Chicago real estate prices have already went down a lot. So prices went down and less people bought. That is not great. And then the commercial side is a scary side, because this tax isn't really going to be for the residential. It's mostly going to be for the commercial, because there's way more commercial sales than residential sales in Chicago. And guess what? Commercial property sales down 44% in 2023. In fact, I think Chicago should be doing the complete opposite, offering different incentives, different things to get things up and rolling again, because when your commercial property sales are down 44%, I think you should be adding in incentives, sprinkle in different prices, and maybe even coupons for companies to come in and buy these properties. But instead, Chicago does a complete opposite. Oh, let's tax people a lot when they sell commercial property or if they buy commercial property. This basically is going to make things worse. Down 44% in 2023, get ready for it to be down 80% in 2024. And many of these buildings are literally selling for pennies on the dollar. Like this one. This is a pretty massive building near the Loop Business District. Guess what? It's selling for $4 million. Negative 89% off. This is an enormous building. $4 million in some cities only gets you a 2-bed, 2-bath. But apparently Chicago gets you a whole entire building. And look at this. Chicago's well-known tower for its diamond-shaped top sells for about half of its 2017 price. It was eventually bought for $60 million. This is a humongous building in one of the best areas of the Chicago Loop District, and it's selling for pennies on the dollars as well. It's a 41-story building selling for $60 million. It is hyper cheap, and many people are kind of done with Chicago real estate. Many of the wealthy landowners, many of the wealthy investors do not want to touch Chicago with a 10-foot pole, because if you touch Chicago and then this pops up, well, you're screwed. Get ready for like a negative 10, negative 20% off discount on your building. It's pretty bad to see Chicago in this sort of way. Chicago basically has drained itself of every single dollar. On the migrant crisis, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on it. Southside Chicago is still very dangerous. Many companies and hedge funds are moving out. Ken Griffin and Citadel actually moved out because of the crime rate, and everyone is going to Miami. Everyone's going to Vegas. Chicago is having an outflow of people, population, and money and companies, and now they're implementing this tax, which is going to be squeezing out the last drops of money left in Chicago, and it's not looking so great. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you later.